So, do you want to grow the traffic that is coming to your website? Today I'm giving you 5 easy strategies that you can apply today that will make your website more successful. Let's dive in. Hey and welcome to the channel. My name is Leon. This channel exists to help you use your web stats to grow your website without spending hours in the process. I want to thank everyone that has been liking my videos and has subscribed to the channel recently, because that really helps me get these videos out to as many people as I can. As a way to say thank you, I have created a free and short cheat sheet on how you can grow your website traffic. So if you've watched this video and you want even more tips on how you can grow your website traffic, just head over to the video description to download that for free. Alright, we're talking about 5 simple strategies that you can apply today that help you grow your website traffic. And the first strategy that I want to talk to you about is this: determine the type of growth that you want to see. And what I mean to say here is, high visitor count should not always be your end goal. So for some businesses, the amount of visitors will be the end goal. For instance, if you have a blog and you run ads, then the visitor count is really important. You just want as many people on your site as possible. But for many businesses, this is not the case. For instance, the past few months I've been consulting with a client who had thousands of visitors per month, and they were spending a lot of money on advertising to get that done. But people that came to the site were only reading for on average 5 seconds, and almost no one was converting into a real customer. On the other hand, my own site most months doesn't even have 100 visitors per month, but still my business is generating 6 figures in revenue. So visitor count does not always correlate with revenue, and you need to make a decision what kind of growth you want to see on your website. So is it a high visitor count or reading time, or maybe is it conversions? Is it the amount of job applications or leads, or the amount of revenue that's coming through your online store? Alright, but why do I tell you to determine your goal first? Well, the goal determines your targeting, and your audience can generally be divided up into 3 main groups. I stole this model from Avinash Kaushik, to be honest, but he says, let's say you're selling shoes, then your audience can be divided up into 3 groups. The first group is the widest qualified audience. It is everyone that you could potentially target, because that is everyone that wears shoes, and everyone in that group can become a customer of your business someday in the future. So that's the widest group that you could target. But then you also have a second group, and that group is a little bit more narrow. It is everyone that wears shoes but is looking to purchase a pair of shoes in the future. So for instance, they might look for things like, what kind of shoes do I need if I want to hike in the Swiss Alps? Or what kind of shoe trends are there at the moment? So this audience is a little bit more narrow than the first audience. But then you also have a third audience, and that is everyone that's wearing shoes, everyone that is looking to purchase a pair of shoes in the future, but also everyone that is ready to purchase them right now. So for instance, they might look for a very specific brand name, type of shoes, or maybe discounts. So in my own business, I decided to target that last group first. So I made a page about, for instance, in-company training Google Analytics. That page has been a #1 position in the Netherlands for over a year now, and that wasn't really hard to do. I just made a page. There isn't a high competition on that phrase at the moment, so it didn't really take me a lot of work to get there. And also, that page doesn't generate a ton of traffic. It is just a couple per month, perhaps, but still almost everyone that fills out the form that's on that page results in a customer, because the likelihood that people become a customer on that phrase is just super high. Because if you type in company training Google Analytics, the likelihood that you will convert into a customer is just super high, because you really want to make a purchase right now. You want to schedule a training right now somewhere in the future. So my advice to you is, if you want to grow your website and you want to not only to grow your traffic, but you want to grow conversions, I would start with targeting that third group. People that have a high likelihood of converting into a customer. And once that pond is saturated, if you have done everything you could to target that group, then and only then I would move back into the second group and into the first group. So I would do everything I can to target that final stage in the customer journey first. Alright, the second strategy that you can use to grow your website traffic is this. You need to track the performance of every traffic channel on your website. Because if you're not keeping your eye on the performance of your traffic channel, you might be wasting your time and your money on the wrong things. And there are a couple of really easy and practical things that you can do to make this a lot easier. So the first tip applies to everyone that uses email as a traffic source. If you have email as a traffic source, you need to make sure that your email software is linked to Google Analytics. And about every type of email software that I've used has this functionality, but you just need to Google it online and make sure that it's there. But what you want is that every email that you send out that contains links to your site, that those links will have UTM tags added to them. And that's a really technical word in our world, but it's really important because if somebody opens up a newsletter, clicks on a link to your site and then converts, it will make sure that your newsletter will get the credit for that conversion inside of Google Analytics. So the second tip here is use UTM tags on all paid advertisements. So if you have an agency that's making advertisements for you, ask them to provide the advertisements with UTM tags, because the same with email, that will make sure that if somebody clicks on an advertisement and then converts, it will make sure that the advertisement they clicked on will get the credit for that conversion. And it will make it really clear for you what types of channels and what types of campaigns are really driving the conversions on your website. And my third tip on watching the performance of your traffic channels is this. Let's go into Google Analytics and I'll show you. What I like to do in my traffic source report here, traffic acquisition by the way, is I like to make a couple of modifications to make this report a little bit more clear. Because this report contains a lot of columns that I never use and it lacks some columns that I really like to use. So you can modify this report in the top right corner under Customize Report. And we can change the amount of columns here under metrics. So under metrics, I'm going to keep users, I'm going to keep sessions, but I never look at engaged sessions. So I'm going to remove it from the report. Engaged sessions per user, I'm also never looking at that. Events per session, same thing. Engagement rate, personally I prefer bounce rate. I made a different video on that. So I'm removing engagement rate, adding bounce rate back in. Event count for this site, I'm not using it, so I'm removing it as well. And total revenue, it is always 0 on my site because I do not sell products. So this is not relevant for my website either. So I'm removing this column as well. And I'm adding back in 2 columns. I'm adding back in bounce rate and conversion rate. And I'm going with session conversion rate. So bounce rate and session conversion rate. And I'm applying this. And one extra thing that I like to do here, the first column here, is by default set to session default channel group. Personally, I prefer a different dimension. I prefer session source medium as a default. So I'm going to set this as default. I'm going to hit apply and I'm going to save this to the current report. And now my own preferences, my own defaults are applied to this report. So I can really see clearly what traffic sources are driving the most quality users and are driving the most conversions. So I have contact form submit, training form submit. I know exactly what the performance of each channel group is over time. So the third strategy on how to grow your website traffic is this. You need to decide what channels you want to focus on. What are the 3 channels that are driving the most conversions to your website right now? What are the 3 channels that are driving the best traffic to your website right now? And focus on growing those. In my business, here locally, in my own consultancy business here in the Netherlands, I just chose one channel, organic search. And as over time, of course, direct traffic also grew because I was doing good work. People heard from me and then get recommendations. So that is like a bonus. But on the channels that I can control, I chose Google Organic. And here in my online business, my YouTube channel, my primary channel is YouTube. And I've just added email as a second channel. And I'm thinking about adding organic search, like a blog or something in the future. But it is really important to not spread yourself out too thin. You cannot do everything. If you try to do everything, you'll probably succeed at none. What are the channels that you want to focus on? So what are the 3 channels that I really like? Well, I really like to work with Google Organic, with email, and with YouTube. You could choose a different social media, but I'm on YouTube all the time. I really like it. I know the channel. I know what works, what doesn't work. I like these channels not because they are free or they do not have a cost per click, because there is a lot of effort involved to make these channels succeed. But the reason why I like these is because they are relationship centered and quality centered. Because let me tell you, if I click on an ad, I know for a certain that people want to sell me something. I have my guards up. I'm very cautious. But if I click on something that people made for free and I really like that, the likelihood of me purchasing something with that person or with that company is actually really high because they've just earned my trust. And that is why I really like these 3 channels, because they are relationship based and quality based. And people have a lot higher likelihood of making a purchase with someone that they trust and that they know. So the fourth strategy that I want to give you on how you can grow your website traffic is this. Make a 2-year plan. Determine where you want to be in 2 years. Well, this is something that I've done on my YouTube channel as well. When I started, I set a goal. In 2 years, I want to be on a specific number of views per month. Why did I set this goal? Well, I feel like 2 years is enough time to get it going, to give it some room to breathe, to try different things, but it is also not too long to waste time on something that's not working anyway. What I've done from that goal, I drew a growth curve. So for every month, I evaluate, okay, how many views did I get this month and what's the amount of views that I need to hit the goal in 2 years. And for me personally, the slower months have been on that growth curve and the better months, the good months, have been way above that growth curve. And I've made a decision that if I'm under that growth curve for 3 months in a row, I'm gonna reevaluate if I want to do this channel or not, or maybe change it to a different topic. So I recommend that you make a 2-year plan as well. Determine where you want to be in 2 years, draw a growth curve, and evaluate every month or every quarter if you're still on track to hit that goal. And if you're not on track, make a decision if you want to keep trying or change the direction of what you're trying to do. So the last strategy that I want to tell you about on how to grow your website is this. Sometimes you do not need to change your marketing. Sometimes you need to change your product, because even the best marketing cannot fix a broken product. I tell my clients this every time. I'm not Harry Potter. I cannot magically make people buy your product. People will only buy your product if they are convinced that it really helps them forward in their life somehow. So sometimes you do not need to keep trying and fix your marketing. Sometimes what you need to change is the product itself. And with that, I want to close this video. I really hope that this video was helpful to you. And if there was one strategy that really stood out, will you let me know in the comments what it was? Also, if you have questions, let me know. Up to now, I've been able to comment on all the questions that I got, which was really fine. It's always nice to hear from you. Also, if you want even more tips on how you can grow your website traffic, there's a link in the video description to a cheat sheet that contains over 20 tips that I gathered during my career as a consultant in web analytics. So if you're interested in that, there's a link in the video description. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.